Okay, so we always try to pick some really interesting papers for these deep dives, and I think this one that you sent over towards an AI co-scientist is one of the coolest we've covered yet.
Definitely an area with a lot of active research right now and a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing to think that we're now at the point where AI isn't just, summarizing research, but it's actually coming up with new ideas like hypotheses and even designing experiments.
That's right. Yeah, it's a really exciting shift. The idea here is that AI can become a partner, a real collaborator in the scientific process, not a replacement for scientists, but like a turbocharged assistant.
Okay, I like that a turbocharged assistant. So how exactly does this AI co-scientist work? I mean, can scientists just like talk to it?
They can, yeah, that's one of the key features of the system described in this paper. It uses natural language processing so scientists can interact with it pretty much like they would with a human colleague. They can describe their research goals, ask questions, and get feedback on their ideas.
Wow, so it's not just like typing in keywords and getting a list of papers, it's more like having a conversation about the research.
Yeah, much more conversational, and that's intentional. The idea is to make it easier for scientists to integrate AI into their workflow, to make it feel more like a natural extension of their thinking.
So is it just throwing out random ideas, or is there some kind of method to its madness?
Oh, there's definitely a method, and it's a method we're all familiar with. The AI is designed to follow the scientific method, starting with a research goal, then digging into the literature to generate hypotheses, and then going on to design experiments to test those hypotheses.
So it's not just like pulling facts from papers, it's actually looking for connections, making inferences, coming up with its own original ideas.
Exactly. And what's even cooler is that it's not just one monolithic AI. It's actually a system of specialized agents that work together almost like a research team.
So it's like having a whole team of AI scientists working on your problem.
That's a great way to think about it. You have agents that are good at brainstorming, coming up with lots of different hypotheses. Then you have other agents that are more critical evaluating those hypotheses. And then you have agents that are focused on refining the most promising hypotheses and turning them into testable experiments.
So is this just theoretical, or are there actual examples of this AI co-scientist making a real difference in scientific research?
Oh, it's already having a real impact. One really cool example is in the field of drug discovery for cancer. This AI actually helped researchers identify a new drug candidate for acute myeloid leukemia, or AML.
I know AML is a really serious form of cancer, but how did the AI actually help?
So this drug, KIRA6, had never been considered for AML treatment before. But the AI, after analyzing a ton of data, pinpointed it as a potential candidate. It basically made a connection that human researchers had missed.
And did it work?
Early lab tests showed promising results. It's still early days of rehearse, but it's a really great example of how AI can bring a fresh perspective to a problem and potentially speed up the drug discovery process.
That's pretty incredible, but I'm curious, how do we know if the AI is on the right track? How do they evaluate its performance?
That's a really important question. There are two main ways they evaluate the AI. First, they use automated metrics, kind of like a self-grading system. The AI checks its own work to make sure its hypotheses are novel and that the experiments it designs are actually feasible.
So it's not just throwing out crazy ideas, it's actually making sure its suggestions make sense.
Exactly. And the second step, which is crucial, is human expert review. Everything the AI produces is reviewed by scientists who provide feedback and make sure it's all scientifically sound.
Okay, so it's not just AR gone wild, there's still a very important human element in the loop.
Absolutely, it's a collaboration. And the results of this evaluation are really impressive. The paper shows that this AI is performing better than other advanced language models, and in some cases even outperforming the best guesses from human experts.
Wow, that's really remarkable. So this AI is already making a splash in the biomedical field. But what about other areas of science? Could this approach work for, say, climate change research or materials science?
That's what's so exciting about this research. The potential applications are incredibly broad. I mean, imagine AI helping us design new materials with amazing properties or helping us understand the complexities of climate change to find solutions.
Yeah, okay, now I'm really getting excited about this, but let's not get ahead of ourselves before we start dreaming about AI solving all the world's problems. Are there any limitations or challenges that the researchers are still working on?
Of course, there are still challenges. One thing the paper acknowledges is that evaluating the AI's performance is still a work in progress. The metrics they're using now are helpful, but they don't always capture the full picture of what makes good science. It's kind of like trying to grade a painting based on how many colors it uses. You're missing the artistry.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So we need better ways to measure whether the AI is truly producing valuable scientific insights.
Exactly. And another big challenge is complexity. Right now, this AI co-scientist is best at designing simpler experiments. The researchers are working on expanding its capabilities to handle more intricate, multi-step experiments, which are common in many areas of science.
It sounds like there's still a lot of work to be done, but the progress so far is truly mind-boggling. Okay, you mentioned that this AI co-scientist was also tested on its ability to generate hypotheses for a research problem that had already been solved by human scientists. Can we dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely. It's a really interesting case study that really highlights the AI's potential. It involves a puzzle that took human scientists almost a decade to solve, figuring out how certain genetic elements called CFPICIs contribute to antimicrobial resistance in bacteria.
Okay, so break that down for me. What are CFPICs and why should we care about them?
Think of CFPSCIs, which stands for capsid-forming phage-inducible chromosomal islands, as little packages of DNA that can jump between bacteria.
Okay, so they're like little travelers spreading genetic information. What's the problem with that?
The problem is that these packages can carry genes that make bacteria resistant to antibiotics, which is a huge global health threat. It's like they're trading resistance secrets, making it harder and harder to fight infections.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is a big deal. So how did the AI approach this problem? Was it given any hints about CFPICIs or antimicrobial resistance?
Nope, the AI was given a broad research goal, figure out how these CFPSCIs contribute to bacterial evolution, especially in the context of antibiotic resistance. And then it was set loose on a massive database of scientific literature.
So it was basically given a puzzle in a library and had to figure it out on its own.
Exactly, and incredibly, it managed to come up with the same hypothesis that took human scientists years of research to discover, and it did it in just 2 days.
That's incredible. It sounds like this AI co-scientist has a real knack for connecting the dots and making sense of complex information. Did the AI offer any unique insights that the human researchers hadn't considered?
It did. While its primary hypothesis mirrored the existing understanding, it also proposed some alternative hypotheses that the researchers found intriguing.
Oh, that's interesting. Like what?
One alternative hypothesis centered on the role of horizontal gene transfer, a process where bacteria can swap genetic material directly.
So the AI suggested these CFPSCIs might be spreading resistance genes through this direct exchange mechanism?
Precisely, it even proposed a specific pathway involving something called a conjugative transposon.
Okay, I'm going to need a little help with that one. What in the world is a conjugative transposon?
Imagine bacteria trading genes like baseball cards. A conjugative transposon is like a rare, valuable card that can easily be passed around, spreading antibiotic resistance.
So the AI is suggesting that these rare cards could be helping the CFPICIs spread their resistance secrets even faster.
Exactly, and it's an idea that the researchers hadn't fully explored before. It highlights how AI can offer fresh perspectives and push scientific thinking in new directions.
This is truly remarkable. It seems like this AI co-scientist is not just about replicating human research, but about complementing and expanding our understanding.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this field so exciting. It's not about replacing human scientists, but about giving them a powerful new tool to accelerate discovery.
So it's a partnership, a true collaboration between human and artificial intelligence.
Precisely, and together they can accomplish amazing things.
Well, this has been an incredible start to our deep dive into the world of AI co-scientists. We've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore.
I agree, we've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating field.
Okay, I'm definitely hooked on this AI co-scientist idea. You mentioned earlier that the AI also tackled the challenge of drug repurposing. Can we unpack that a bit more?
Absolutely. Drug repurposing is a really hot area in drug development right now. It's basically finding new uses for existing drugs. So instead of starting from scratch, you're looking for a drug that's already approved for one thing that might also be effective for something else.
Oh, I see. So it's like looking through your medicine cabinet for something that might work for a different ailment.
Exactly. It's a much faster and cheaper way to develop new treatments. And the AI showed some real promise in this area. The researchers gave the AI a bunch of research goals focused on different types of cancer and asked it to come up with drug repurposing hypotheses.
And did it actually find potential new uses for existing drugs?
It did, and it didn't just spit out random drug names. The AI actually provided the reasoning behind its suggestions, like highlighting potential mechanisms of action and even outlining experiments to validate its ideas.
So it's like the AI is thinking like a scientist, not just guessing, but actually explaining its logic.
Right, and to really put the AI to the test, the researchers compared its predictions to a database called DipMap, which contains information on how effective various drugs are against different cancer cell lines.
Oh, that's smart. So it's like a real-world benchmark for the AI's drug repurposing abilities.
Exactly, and the results were pretty impressive. The AI's predictions aligned really well with the DipMap data. Drugs that the AI predicted would be effective against certain cancers were indeed shown to be effective in the database.
It's almost like the AI is learning to speak the language of cells, understanding how drugs interact with them at a molecular level.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see the AI picking up on these subtle patterns and connections that even experienced researchers might miss.
This is incredible, but I'm curious, did they just stop at comparing the AI's predictions with the database? Did they actually test any of the AI's ideas in the lab?
They did. They took some of the AI's top candidates and actually ran experiments. And remember, KIRA6, the drug the AI suggested for AML, well, it actually showed significant activity against AIL cells in the lab, inhibiting their growth.
Wow, so the AI's prediction actually held up in a real-world test. That's pretty amazing. But I'm a bit skeptical. How much can we really trust an AI's judgment, especially when it comes to something as important as drug development?
That's a totally valid concern. It's why the researchers went a step further. They took some of the AI's most promising drug repurposing hypotheses and formatted them into something called an NIH-style grant proposal specific aims page.
An NIH-style grant proposal, like what scientists use to apply for research funding.
Exactly. It's a standardized document that outlines the goals, hypotheses, and experimental plans for a research project. They wanted to see if the AI could communicate its ideas in a way that would convince human experts.
So it's like the AI was applying for a research grant, and human scientists were the reviewers.
That's a great way to put it. They assembled a team of expert hematologists and oncologists and asked them to review the AI's specific aims pages.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What would the experts think? Did the AI pass the test?
It did. The experts were impressed. They used a modified NIH grant proposal evaluation rubric, which looks at things like the importance of the research, the feasibility of the experiments, and the clarity of the writing. And the AI scored highly across all the criteria.
That's really impressive. It seems like the AI is not just generating good ideas, but it's learning to communicate them effectively, which is so crucial for real-world scientific collaboration.
It is. It's like the AI is learning to bridge the gap between its own internal representations and the way that human scientists think and communicate.
Now, you mentioned earlier that this AI co-scientist is still under development. What are some of the next steps in its evolution?
One area they're focusing on is improving the AI's ability to handle more complex experimental designs. Right now, it's best suited for simpler experiments, but real-world research often involves multiple steps, intricate conditions, and a deep understanding of variables.
So it's like the AI is still learning the nuances of experimental design, the art of setting up a really robust and informative experiment.
Exactly. And another area for future development is the AI's role in the later stages of the scientific process, like analyzing data and drawing conclusions from experiments. Right now, the AI shines in those early stages, hypothesis generation and experimental design, but they're working on expanding its capabilities to include data analysis and interpretation.
So the ultimate goal is to create a truly autonomous AI scientist, one that can participate in the entire research process from start to finish.
That's the long-term vision. But even with its current capabilities, the potential impact is huge.
Okay, let's talk practicality for a minute. What are the real-world challenges of getting these AI systems into actual labs and research institutions?
Well, one big challenge is expertise. You need a lot of specialized knowledge to build and maintain these systems. We're talking computer scientists, data scientists, and domain experts who understand the specific field of research. It's not something every lab can easily set up.
So it's a team effort, not just a matter of plugging in a new piece of equipment.
Definitely. And then there's the issue of cost. Developing these sophisticated AI systems requires powerful computers, access to massive data sets, and a skilled team. It's a significant investment.
But wouldn't the potential benefits like speeding up drug discovery or finding solutions for climate change justify the cost?
They absolutely could. And as AI technology becomes more accessible, we can expect the cost to come down. Another crucial factor is data sharing. AI thrives on data. The more data it has access to, the better it performs.
So we need to move towards a more open science culture where researchers are encouraged to share their data?
Exactly. Data silos and proprietary data sets can really hinder the progress of AI in science.
Okay, so we've got the technical challenges, the cost, the need for data sharing. Are there any cultural or societal barriers to adopting AI in science?
There's definitely some resistance to change. Some scientists might see AI as a threat, worried about their jobs, or that it will dehumanize science.
So it's about addressing those fears and highlighting how AI can be a partner, not a replacement.
Absolutely. It's about shifting the mindset from competition to collaboration.
Okay, let's circle back to that NIH-style grant proposal example for a second. It's fascinating that the AI can actually generate these proposals. What's the process like? How does it actually create those documents?
Well, it starts with a research goal, just like any human scientist would. Let's say the goal is to find a new use for an existing drug.
Got it. So the AI has its objective. What's next?
Then the AI dives into its vast knowledge base, which includes tons of scientific papers and data, and it uses its reasoning abilities to generate a hypothesis.
So it might say, hey, this drug that's currently used for migraines might actually be effective against this type of cancer.
Exactly. So it doesn't stop there. The AI then scours the scientific literature for evidence to back up its hypothesis. It's like a detective piecing together clues and building a case.
So it's not just coming up with wild guesses, it's actually grounding its ideas in existing scientific knowledge.
Precisely. And once it has a well-supported hypothesis, it can start outlining an experimental plan to test it, just like a human scientist would.
Okay, so the AI has the goal, the hypothesis, the plan, and then it puts it all together in this formal grant proposal document.
Right. It uses its language generation skills to create a clear and concise specific aims page following the same structure and guidelines used in real NIH grant proposals.
It's pretty remarkable that it can communicate its ideas in a way that makes sense to human scientists.
It really is. And remember, the experts who reviewed these AI-generated proposals were impressed. It suggests that AI is getting really good at speaking the language of science.
Speaking of communication, are there other areas of science where AI could be helpful beyond generating hypotheses and designing experiments?
Oh, absolutely. AI has the potential to transform scientific communication in so many ways. Imagine AI tools that can summarize lengthy research papers, making it easier for scientists to stay up to date with the latest findings.
That would be a huge time saver, especially with the ever-growing volume of scientific publications these days.
Right, and think about AI translating those papers into different languages, making scientific knowledge accessible to a wider audience.
That would be incredible, breaking down language barriers and fostering global scientific collaboration. What else?
Well, some researchers believe AI could even help with writing scientific papers, automating some of the more tedious aspects of the writing process.
So AI taking care of the formatting and grammar, leaving scientists more time to focus on the research itself.
Exactly. And AI could create interactive visualizations of complex data, making it easier for both scientists and the public to understand research findings.
So it's not just about scientists talking to each other, it's about making science more accessible and engaging for everyone.
Precisely. And AI could even play a role in peer review, helping to identify potential flaws or areas for improvement in research papers.
Wow, it seems like AI is poised to change every aspect of how we communicate science.
It really does. And it could lead to a more open, efficient, and collaborative scientific community.
Now we've been focusing on AI as a powerful tool for human scientists. But what about AI actually driving scientific discoveries on its own without human guidance?
That's where things get really interesting and honestly a little bit mind-blowing.
Right, it's like, are we approaching a future where AI isn't just an assistant, but a scientific pioneer in its own right?
It's a real possibility. Imagine AI identifying research problems that we haven't even thought of yet, exploring areas beyond the limits of human imagination.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So the AI is setting its own research agenda, conducting experiments, analyzing data, making groundbreaking discoveries, all without human intervention.
That's the idea. It could work at a speed and scale that we can barely comprehend, analyzing massive data sets, running simulations, conducting virtual experiments without needing sleep or coffee breaks.
It's like having an army of tireless AI scientists working 24/7.
Exactly. It's both exciting and a bit intimidating to imagine the possibilities.
Okay, but let's pause for a second and address the elephant in the room. How do we know if those discoveries are actually valid? If we're talking about AI making scientific breakthroughs on its own, how can we trust the results?
That's the million-dollar question. We need to develop ways to ensure the validity and reliability of AI-driven discoveries. It's not just about trusting the AI, it's about understanding how it arrived at those conclusions.
So we need AI systems that are transparent, explainable. We need to be able to look under the hood and see the AI's thought process.
Exactly. We need to know what evidence it considered, the logic it used, the potential biases that might have influenced its finding.
It can't just be a black box spitting out scientific discoveries. We need to be able to understand and verify its work.
Absolutely. And beyond the issue of trust and transparency, there are also ethical considerations that we need to grapple with.
Like what?
Well, we've talked about bias in data. If an AI system is trained on biased data, its discoveries could perpetuate those biases, potentially leading to unfair or even harmful outcomes.
So we need to be super careful about the data that's used to train these AI systems, making sure it's as diverse and representative as possible.
Absolutely. And we also need to develop ways to detect and mitigate bias in the AI's output, even if the data itself is imperfect.
And what about the question of ownership and credit? If an AI makes a groundbreaking discovery, who gets the recognition? The AI? The researchers who developed it?
That's a really tough one. It really challenges our traditional notions of authorship, and intellectual property in science.
It's a whole new world with new rules that we're still figuring out.
It is, but despite these challenges, the potential of AI-driven scientific discovery is undeniable. Imagine AI uncovering cures for diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries,
Or AI designing materials with properties we can only dream of right now.
or AI finding solutions to climate change, ensuring a sustainable future for our planet.
These are some incredible possibilities, but they come with a huge responsibility to make sure we're guiding this technology in the right direction.
Absolutely. We need to ensure that AI is used for good, that it ultimately benefits humanity as a whole.
Well, I think we've opened up a whole can of worms here, but in the best possible way. This conversation about AI co-scientists is so fascinating and thought-provoking.
I agree. It's a topic that deserves much more exploration and discussion.
Now let's shift gears a bit and focus on a specific application of AI that's generating a lot of buzz these days, the use of AI to design new molecules.
Molecular design is a really hot area right now. It's at the heart of so many fields, from medicine to materials science.
And it seems like a field that's really well suited for AI.
It really is. Traditional approaches to molecular design often involve a lot of trial and error. Scientists synthesize and test countless molecules, hoping to find one that has the desired properties. It can be a very slow and frustrating process.
It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is made of molecules.
That's a great analogy. But AI has the potential to make this process much more efficient and targeted.
Okay, so how does AI actually design new molecules? It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It might sound like magic, but it's actually based on some pretty powerful algorithms and data analysis. AI systems can be trained on massive data sets of molecular structures and their properties. They learn to recognize patterns and relationships that humans might not be able to see.
So the AI becomes like a master chemist, able to predict how different molecules will behave and interact with each other.
Exactly. And based on this understanding, the AI can generate new molecular structures that are likely to have specific properties.
So if we need a new drug to target a certain protein involved in a disease, the AI could design it.
Precisely, the AI could analyze the structure of that protein, identify potential binding sites, and then generate molecules that are likely to fit into those sites and block the protein's activity.
And could it do this more efficiently than a human chemist could?
In many cases, yes, AI can explore these vast chemical spaces, generating and evaluating thousands or even millions of potential molecules in a very short amount of time.
It's like having a super-powered chemist working 24/7. It seems like AI could completely revolutionize drug discovery.
It has that potential, and it's not just about drugs. AI could also be used to design new materials with incredible properties.
Like what?
Well, imagine materials that are super strong and lightweight, perfect for building spacecraft or more efficient vehicles. Or materials that can capture and store solar energy with incredible efficiency.
Or materials that can filter pollutants from water or air, helping to clean up the environment.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
This is mind-blowing. It's exciting to think about the potential applications of AI in molecular design. Are there any real-world examples of this already happening?
There are. Just this year, a team of researchers used AI to design a brand new antibiotic that's effective against a wide range of bacteria, including some that are resistant to our current antibiotics.
Wow, that's incredible. We're talking about a potential game changer in the fight against antibiotic resistance.
It really is. They trained this AI system on a massive data set of molecules and their antibacterial activity.
So the AI basically learned which molecular features are associated with killing bacteria.
Exactly. And then they gave the AI a challenge. They wanted it to design a molecule that can kill a particularly nasty bacterium that's resistant to most of the antibiotics we have.
So it's like they gave the AI a target and said, come up with a weapon to take it down.
That's one way to think about it. And the AI succeeded. It designed a molecule that had never been synthesized before. And when they tested it in the lab, it was incredibly effective against that resistant bacterium.
That's a huge breakthrough, and it seems like AI-driven molecular design is moving from the theoretical to the practical, making a real difference in the fight against some of the biggest challenges facing humanity.
It is, and this is just the beginning. As AI technology continues to advance, we can expect to see even more amazing discoveries coming out of this field.
Now, even with all of this potential, I'm sure there are challenges and concerns. What are some of the things that researchers are grappling with when it comes to AI-driven molecular design?
One of the biggest challenges is data. We need huge, high-quality data sets to train these AI systems. The more data the AI has, the better it will be at recognizing patterns and making accurate predictions.
So it's not just about the quantity of data, but also the quality.
Exactly. The data needs to be accurate, reliable, and relevant to the task at hand. If you feed the AI bad data, you'll get bad results.
It seems like data curation, making sure that the data is accurate and complete, is absolutely crucial for this field to advance.
It's essential. We need to be very careful about what we're feeding the AI, making sure it's learning from the best possible information.
And what about the issue of explainability that we talked about earlier? Is that a concern in molecular design as well?
It's a big one. It's not enough for the AI to just generate a new molecule. We need to understand why that molecule is likely to work. We need to be able to trust the AI's judgment.
So we need AI systems that can explain their reasoning so we're not just blindly trusting a black box.
Exactly. Transparency is key. We need to know what factors the AI considered, what evidence it used, and how it arrived at its final design.
It seems like transparency is important, not just for building trust, but also for advancing scientific understanding. If we don't know how the AI is making its decisions, we can't learn from it or improve it.
You're absolutely right. Transparency is essential for both scientific progress and for responsible AI development.
Now, beyond the technical challenges, are there any ethical concerns that come up when we talk about AI designing new molecules?
There are, and they're important to think about. One concern is the potential for misuse. I mean, if you have an AI that can design incredibly effective drugs or materials, you could also imagine that same AI being used to design dangerous weapons or toxins.
That's a pretty scary thought. It seems like we need to be thinking about ethical guidelines and safeguards to prevent the misuse of this technology.
Absolutely. We need to consider the potential consequences and put measures in place to make sure AI is used for good, not for harm.
It's a delicate balance, harnessing this incredible power while also protecting against its potential dangers.
It is, and it's a conversation that needs to involve not just scientists, but also ethicists, policymakers, and the public.
We need to have a broad society discussion about the responsible development and deployment of AI in all fields, including molecular design.
I completely agree. We need to make sure that this powerful technology is used in a way that benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
Okay, so AI has the potential to revolutionize molecular design, leading to breakthroughs in medicine materials, science, and countless other fields. But it's clear that we need to proceed with caution and thoughtfulness, addressing the technical, ethical, and societal implications of this powerful technology.
Well said. It's a responsibility that we all share.
Now, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to a topic we touched on earlier, the potential impact of AI on the scientific workforce. It's something that I think a lot of people are worried about.
It's understandable that people are concerned. The idea of machines taking over human jobs is a common theme in science fiction, and now it seems like it's starting to become a reality in some sectors.
So is the concern that AI will lead to widespread job losses in science, with scientists being replaced by robots?
It's a valid concern. We need to acknowledge that as AI systems become more capable, they could potentially automate some tasks that are currently done by human scientists.
So labs and research institutions might need fewer scientists because they can rely on AI to do the work.
That's one possible scenario, but it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used in different ways.
Right. It's not necessarily AI versus scientists. It's about how we can integrate AI into the scientific process in a way that benefits everyone.
Exactly. And rather than viewing AI as a threat, I think we should be focusing on how it can augment and enhance human capabilities, leading to a more collaborative and productive scientific enterprise.
So instead of replacing scientists, AI could become their partner, their teammate.
Precisely. And this collaboration could actually create new job opportunities for scientists who are skilled in working with AI.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of taking away jobs, AI could lead to the creation of new ones. Can you give me some examples of what those new roles might look like?
Sure, one example would be scientists who specialize in developing and training AI systems for specific research tasks. They'd be the ones who really understand how to teach AI systems to think like scientists.
So they'd need expertise in both AI and in their specific scientific domain. They'd be bridging the gap between the two worlds.
Exactly. They'd be like AI coaches or mentors, guiding the AI's development and making sure that it's aligned with the goals of the research.
And what about the scientists who are already working in labs and research institutions? How might their roles change?
I think we'll see a shift towards more collaborative research models with human scientists and AI systems working side by side.
So instead of a scientist working alone in the lab, they might have an AI co-scientist helping them to generate ideas, design experiments, and analyze data.
Exactly. It's like having a super smart research assistant who can help you with all of the tedious and time-consuming tasks, leaving you free to focus on the more creative and strategic aspects of your research.
It sounds like AI could make the research process much more efficient, productive, and potentially lead to even more groundbreaking discoveries.
It has that potential, and it could also lead to new scientific discoveries that wouldn't be possible without this kind of human-AI collaboration.
Now, beyond these specific job roles, are there any broader impacts that AI might have on the scientific workforce?
I think AI could have a huge impact on making science more accessible and inclusive.
Oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
For one, AI could help to level the playing field for scientists who are working in resource-limited settings. AI systems can access and process vast amounts of data no matter where that data is located.
So, a scientist in a developing country could have access to the same cutting-edge AI tools as a scientist at a top university in a wealthy country.
Exactly. It could really help to democratize science, breaking down geographical barriers, and fostering a more diverse and representative global scientific community.
That's a really inspiring vision. And are there other ways that AI could contribute to a more inclusive scientific workforce?
AI could also be really helpful for scientists with disabilities. For example, imagine AI-powered tools that can assist with tasks that might be challenging for scientists with visual impairments or motor impairments.
So AI could make science more accessible to people who might have been excluded in the past.
Exactly. It's about making sure that everyone has the opportunity to contribute to scientific progress regardless of their background or their abilities.
It seems like AI has the potential to not only accelerate scientific progress, but to make science more equitable and just.
I agree, it's a really exciting prospect.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, from the nuts and bolts of how AI co-scientists work to the broader implications of AI for the future of science and the scientific workforce.
It's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too. And I think it's important to emphasize that the future of AI in science is still being written.
You're right, it's a story that's unfolding as we speak, and we all have a role to play in shaping that story.
It's pretty amazing to think about all the things we've discussed today. And, what keeps coming back to me is, what does all this mean, like, for the really big picture, the future of scientific discovery?
I think it's safe to say we're at a really pivotal moment. I mean, if AI can already do what it can do, replicate years of human research, in some cases, just imagine where we'll be in 10 or 20 years.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, could AI help us unlock the secrets of consciousness? Could it help us develop clean energy sources that are basically limitless? Could we even see AI helping to, significantly extend the human lifespan?
All of those things are possible, and they don't sound as crazy now as they might have, even a few years ago. But it's really important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
That's a really good point. We can't just sort of, unleash AI and hope for the best. We need to be really thoughtful about how we develop and how we use it, making sure that it's aligned with, human values and goals.
Exactly. And that's where I think the conversation about AI ethics becomes so important. We need to be having those conversations right now, thinking about things like bias and AI safety concerns, the potential impact on the workforce, all of that.
It's a really complex issue, and there are no easy answers. But it's a conversation that we need to be having, and it needs to involve people from all different fields: scientists, ethicists, policymakers, and of course the public. We need to work together to make sure that AI is used to create a better world for everyone.
I completely agree. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a feeling of, awe and excitement, but also a sense of responsibility. We're at the very beginning of something truly transformative, and it's up to all of us to make sure that this technology is used wisely.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
To all of our listeners out there, keep those minds curious, keep asking questions, and stay engaged in this conversation, because the future of AI is something that we're all creating together.
That's right. The future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we build. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time, stay curious, everybody.